the temple was 100% nothing like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Everything was a complete shock to me. And it was also traumatic. And I felt like I didn't have a way out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to sit with the cognitive dissonance of, like, this is what I've waited my entire life for. And then to find out what it really was actually really disappointing to me. And I didn't know how to reconcile that.
I agree. The endowment ceremony specifically was still to this day, I'm sure, as you can tell, as I'm speaking about it, the hardest part probably of my Mormon experience. I have a lot of trauma attached to it just because of the situation I was in, my marriage and the expectations of my family. Going through when I was pregnant, I had crazy experiences, but like you, the endowment ceremony is probably what strengthened and shook my faith the most out of my entire, at that point, 24 years of being a faithful, devout LDS member. It was nothing I could have ever remotely imagined would be something I was going through. It was unexpected. It was, to me, contrary to things I had learned in church. And I consistently felt every single time, what is wrong with me that I am having such a cognitive dissonance within myself sitting through this ceremony every single time I went. And I went a lot.
Yeah, that it's so heavy. I did get used to it. I did, like, kind of make my peace with it. And I think that's how I was able to keep going back all the time. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird for me to even say that because I guess what I I guess what I ended up making peace with was like, okay, if this is really the temple ceremony, if this is really what it is, then I'm just going to go with it. Like, I'm just going to 100% dive in. And there were things that I always hated the prayer circle, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But everything else I just kind of made my peace with. And at the time, I was so traumatized in my everyday life that the temple really was a refuge for me in a way. It was a place that I could go be by myself because I never went with anybody. And I would just go be by myself. And what I looked forward to most was sitting in the celestial room alone for as long as I wanted to and just, thinking about my life choices and asking God for, some kind of direction or some kind of peace, like to make it through the next week.
Right there, if people haven't watched any of our stuff, I think right there just shows our personality differences. The more you went, the more you're like, all right, this is what I need to do. I find peace here. It's quiet. And the more I went was like, what? Like people would say you learn something new every time you go. And every time I went, it was like I heard something else that I was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? But I kept going because I was told that's what I was supposed to do. And when I went and I sat in the celestial room and I saw husbands and wives together, and I would think about the ceremony I just went through, and I was like, dude, this still seems weird. And I would see families and they were always like eternal families. And I would sit, I can't even tell you how many times I sat in that celestial room and thought, this doesn't seem like eternal families are in the cards for me. Or I had issues with my ex-husband, but also I literally remember having the thought multiple times, I feel more safe and spiritual sitting and reading to my children than I do sitting in here right now.
Yeah.
And that thought rolled in my head so many times. Like, I remember sitting in the celestial room thinking, I'd rather be at home holding my children thinking about what is best for us and for them and being with them than sitting here in this cold room with a bunch of old couples that love each other so much in a way I have never felt and probably will never feel, is how I felt. And a lot of times I went with my family, with people I knew shouldn't be in the temple. And so for me, the
Yeah.
temple never really felt like a safe space. It felt like a place that was making shit up. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan.
I'm Kirsten.
And together we are Ex Mormon Snark.
We are trading our testimonies for truth bombs.
And we're spilling all the Mormon tea and coffee and tobacco and alcohol and Dr. Pepper.
Always Dr. Pepper. This is my emotional safety drink or emotional support drink.
I just have water today, and it's a good thing because I had a little bit, probably too much coffee this morning and got jittery. But I have taken my medicine, so we're on a good track.
I had coffee, but as we know, Megan got used to her chocolate bean water. So switching to coffee was difficult. Whereas I had 2 cups of coffee and now I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. I did have some water though, for all of the people telling me I'm going to get a kidney stone.
God. Well, Kirsten, are you ready to take the next step on the covenant path?
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't have a choice. Just like when we were in the Mormon church.
Maybe we should show the visual again. We haven't shown that in a couple episodes.
Yeah, we haven't shown it in a while.
All right.
So for all of you who are Nevermos, you lucky sons of bitches, this is the covenant path. So it starts down here with baptism and then confirmation. This kid looks like his head is being pushed forward by the hands.
Which is accurate. All of those hands were like,
yeah. This is weird though, because this is a church. What is this over here? Is this a school with an American flag in the front, or is it a bank or what? I don't know. I don't get it. Here's the house.
I would say it's a school. Maybe you're learning because you're like in 4th grade, but a bank is very on brand for the church.
It is, right? So. And then this is a picture of a man, or I guess a boy, passing the sacrament to a woman, because we know it would never be the other way around. So taking the sacrament is part of the covenant path.
The women need the sacrament to repent of their sins.
Yeah. And then we have this picture of a kid in a suit, I guess a guy in a suit. I'm going to guess this is his dad. And this is his mom taking him by the arm and being like, come with us. We're going to the temple.
Which is also accurate.
Go
to the temple.
And then after this young man goes on a mission, he comes back and marries the young woman. So do you see how this is like kind of a male-centric covenant path here? The boy is getting baptized, then the boy gets blessed, then the boy passes the sacrament, then the boy goes to the temple so he can go on his mission, and then he marries a girl. So again, and then the arrows point to nowhere. Mormon heaven, I'm guessing.
Oh, sorry. Use the 2 fingers, just like in Disneyland.
And there is, as you can see, there is no exit on this covenant path. You cannot follow the lighted rows to the exit because there isn't one. You just keep going and going and going.
This is not the game of life. This is Monopoly. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
That's
right. Unless
what?
Exactly. Because there is no unless.
You're right. There is none.
You just go to the temple.
You will go. You're just going to go.
Right? I mean, that's how it was presented to me. You do those things. And there is no other path. No, the only other path is eternal outer darkness or
damnation.
Sadness upon your family, a horrible life, horrible things are going to happen to you. You're going to be sad forever. You'll lose the light from your eyes. I mean, how many times did we hear that?
We heard it a lot. We heard it a lot. So if you have not yet partaken, we desire all to partake. Please go back and watch our episodes about baptism, confirmation, the temple recommend interview questions,
Baptism
doing
for the dead.
the dead that we did as youth, and then the temple garments and the initiatory.
Temple prep class. No, we also
prep
did
class.
temple prep
Yeah,
class.
right. So we've gotten 8 episodes along the covenant path. If you haven't, start at the beginning of the covenant path and come back and join us. Unless you're watching this live, in which case hang out for the chat, because the chat's super fun. And then go back and watch. But there's going to be some stuff that you won't understand if you haven't watched the rest of the stuff. Now, here's a disclaimer for this episode. Our episodes tend to be pretty long because we have a lot to say. And we also have a lifetime of experience in the Mormon church. But this episode, getting all the way to the temple, getting all the way through the temple endowment ceremony has felt very heavy for both of us. And every time we've recorded something about the temple or the garments, we each of us have like a decompression that happens. And then going back and editing it, and then going back and hanging out in the live chat with you guys, it's processing a lot of trauma. So what we have decided to do is the kindest thing that we can do for each of us individually, which is to just not make any promises about getting all the way through the temple ceremony. We're just going to start with the first thing, and we're going to get as far as we can get, because the temple ceremony is an hour and a half long, and we have made a promise to ourselves and each other that we're not going to record for more than 2 hours today. Now, at this particular moment, we talked on the phone for like 40 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
And we've been recording for 20 minutes now, although you will have only seen probably 3 minutes of that. So we are going to do the thing that is kindest for us. So we're going to start at the beginning, and however far we get. So we're just going to call this part 1 of the endowment ceremony, because we're going to start not even in the temple room. We're going to start where we left off last time, which last time we talked about the initiatory, super weird naked temple ceremony, and getting our garments for the first time. And what comes next is, after you get your garments, you go into the dressing room and you put on your all white dress.
Yep.
And then you go to the door of the women's dressing room and you are greeted by a little old lady behind a curtain. You have to go behind a curtain. Most of the time, there's like a little curtain there.
Hey, just like Dorothy, finding what's behind the curtain, but it's not as fun as
and
finding
also,
it. Well,
you don't get to find out what's behind the curtain.
And it's not Jeff Goldblum, which, can you imagine being in the temple with Jeff Goldblum? The things
so I'm
this
gonna
man would say.
I'm gonna need the handshakes. I'm gonna we're gonna do this. We're gonna do the little thing with the hands.
Satan. I hear. Oh, Satan, just a bad guy, I think.
And little words up there at the curtain, and then you're gonna go through the curtain.
Now I feel like I wish I'd gone to the temple with Jeff Goldblum. It would have been like so much more fun.
It would have been super fun.
But just remember, guys, when you talk, it is in a whisper if you must speak, because frankly, they would prefer you not to speak. So
they would prefer you not, especially the women. Yeah. They would prefer us not to speak.
We only get to speak when we're repeating the words, and that's it.
But if you must talk, please whisper. Please whisper. Because they want silence in the house of the Lord. I'm already triggered.
Same. I did pull up this ceremony for the new name. It is very short, but Megan, please explain first what a new name is and maybe how you were given it. Well, this will be how you're given it. But if you want to talk about the reason for the new name, maybe.
I feel like I don't even know the reason for the new name. I really don't.
Oh, Well, then we can read the ceremony because it
Yes.
tells you very
Yeah,
little.
I have forgotten this part of it. I remember receiving my new name and being disappointed because I thought, like, if my parents were really in tune with the spirit, they would have named me the new name. If that's my real name, if that's my heavenly name, like, why didn't they name me the new name when I was born? Because they just weren't spiritual enough to know my new name, I guess. I don't know.
Well, my new name, I always assumed that we got a new name because that was like your higher spiritual self, like
Yes,
how
that's
God's
what I
name was
assumed.
Elohim,
Right.
and things like that. So,
Shut up.
like God had a new name, I was like, oh, we all get a new name so we can be more spiritual. But it always very much bothered me that I couldn't know my husband's because he gets to know mine, which we'll see in the endowment
We'll get into
ceremony.
that. Yeah.
So everyone gets a new name. You're going in for the first time. You go to the little old lady. Now that you have clothes on,
Yeah.
and, and you have your little packet with you. So the officiator who clothed the initiate in the garment, so the person who had given you your garments,
Which I
this is
felt
what
like
they
that was not
say.
always the case, but whatever.
Yeah. With this garment, I give you a new name, which you should always remember and which you must keep sacred and never reveal, except at a certain place that will be shown to you hereafter. The name is, and then they tell you your name.
Deborah.
Mine was Deborah.
Mine was
Which,
Judith.
what made me so, I was like,
We
even
just
in that
revealed the name,
moment,
Kirsten.
ah!
We've said it before. It's not a secret.
multiple times. Well, I got excited because I went, that's my mother's name. And my mom was named after Deborah in the Bible, which all of the names are Bible names, supposedly, or Book of Mormon names.
Well, they kind of ran out of Bible names for women because, there aren't very many women in the Bible. And so then they started using just kind of old-timey names, from like the 1800s. So I would have felt I felt kind of disappointed in Judith. I mean, not that I don't know. So
Judy.
I've said this before, Judy, Judy, Judy. I've said this before that my young women's president when I was a teenager, her name was Judith, and I always thought she was a lovely, beautiful woman, and so I was happy to associate my new name with her because that's how I would remember it because I was terrified that I was going to forget it.
Yes.
But if you forget it, guess what? They've got a fail-safe for that because the new name corresponds with the day of the year in which you went through the temple. And so if you went, for example, on September 4th of 2004, then everybody else who went on September 4th of whatever year, their new name was also Judith.
Yes. And when I found that out, I was very disappointed. I've heard that from multiple people who have left the church.
Mhm.
Because they make it seem like you're going through this very spiritual experience and that the person giving you your new name is given like priesthood power to reveal what your new name is. And
Yep.
to me, I felt like this was very truly amazing. Like they know what your new name is.
Yep.
But it was just the day. It was the
Just the
day,
day.
and
Yep.
everybody's name was that same name that day.
Yep.
And
that's the other secret is that if you're going through the temple for yourself for the first time, then that's your new name. But also
correct.
everybody in line behind me who was going through on behalf of a deceased person, their new name was also Judith. So it wasn't even
Yeah.
unique to me on the day that I went through for myself.
No. Well, yeah, exactly. And what I was going to say, when I was given my new name and they said, your new name is Deborah, I got very excited because it's my mom's name. And I said right then, oh, that's my mom's name. Like I said it audibly after, and I got all these goosebumps and I started to cry a little bit. And the temple worker leaned into me and said, well, remember, you can't reveal that to her. And I was like, oh, and I was feeling kind of sad because I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I wish I could tell my mom, my new name is your name. Like, we have this special connection, is how I was feeling. And then being told I can't tell her. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And I was sad. And now I know she went through and she knew it. She knew what the new name was. So she knew too. And we never talked about it, which is funny to me.
So when you go for yourself, you're escorted by a family member usually who's already been through the temple. And for me, it
Right.
was my mom and my sister were there with me. So my mom and my sister, on the day I was going through for myself, my mom and my sister each had the name of a deceased person for whom they were
Mhm.
going through. And so, yeah, they also know my new name because
Yep.
they were behind me in line, getting a new name for their person that they were going through. So they knew it too. And that never
Yep.
really occurred to me. So,
Oh, it did
yeah.
to me after, because I did bring it up to my mom and she just winked at me and smiled. So, like, she knew.
Yeah.
Oh, but this is a fun fact too. My parents were temple workers, and my mom did tell me afterwards. I don't know if it was after I'd left the church and my mom kind of like shared more stuff with me, or when I was still in the church. I honestly don't recall. But if you're going through for yourself or the person you're going through for, and the new name of the day is their name. So, like my mom, if she had been going through for herself and her name was Deborah, if that is your name, it's not your new name, because they have to be different. Your name is either Adam or Eve.
Yep.
So if you're going through and your name is Sarah and the name of the day is Sarah, when they go up and they see your name, they say your new name is, they will say Eve. So even then, people don't realize, and they're like, oh, my new name is Eve. That's so special. No, it's just because you happen to have an old timey name and they couldn't give
Right.
you the same one. Because in
Right.
no plausible world could your same name be also your new name.
Yeah, and also I feel kind of sad for my oldest niece whose name is Eva, and I really hope that her new name wasn't Eve.
Oh my God.
Because how disappointing would that be? Like if your real
Yeah.
name is Megan and your new name is Megan.
Oh, yeah. They would never. And
They
it's
would
spelled the
never.
same.
Megan is way, way too modern for that. There's no way. There was no
No,
Megan in the Bible.
that's weird. Well,
It
what
is
I
super
think is
weird.
funny is too, I remember people saying like, whatever your new name is, you should go and look them up and like see
Yeah.
how your personality is like a characteristic of that, blah, blah, blah. If anyone knows the story of Deborah, she drove a tent stake through the temple of someone, and that is her claim to fame. So I don't know. I mean, that sounds very on brand. I mean, if I got pissed off enough, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
Judith, on the other hand, was a beautiful and courageous Israelite widow who saved
good
her
for
people
you.
from the Assyrian army by infiltrating the enemy camp, seducing the general, and beheading him.
Megan, that is on brand for you. I see you shimmy whenever you're out. So basically, just to be clear, Megan saves lands and people by seducing men, and I
And
take
then
action.
beheading them.
I take action. And I'm like, you know
Don't
what? No
forget,
one likes
though.
you anyway.
Don't forget, though, that I beheaded him after I seduced him. So there's that.
Oh. I also
Okay.
wanted to point out that when you get the new name, it straight up says in it, I'll pull it up again. I'll give you a new name which you should always remember, keep sacred, and never reveal except at a certain place that will be shown to you. So at this
Right.
point, you don't even know why you have this new name or why it's important or anything like that. I didn't know I was going to be given a new name when I walked up there, but I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is awesome. I've got this new name. I need to remember it. Why? At that point, nobody knows. And they
Right.
don't tell you. They're like, we'll reveal it to you sometime. You don't know if that's going to be in 5 minutes or never, because
Right.
that's how the Mormons are. Just remember
Exactly.
it. Don't tell anybody. And maybe we'll tell you when you need to know it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
The
So
bottom line in all of that is that they have the power over your eternal salvation, and you
yeah,
don't get to know anything about it. You don't get to know. You just
correct.
don't. Maybe
Even
you'll
in the
find out
temple.
someday. Maybe you won't.
In the temple, even. I mean, that just goes to show even the temple has secrets within secrets. And they're like, oh, when you get there, what you'll see, it's coming. When you get
Right.
there, it's even then is breadcrumbing, which we've talked about. Even within the temple, each
Right.
step is breadcrumbing. You're like, well, okay, so what's next? We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe you'll know. Maybe you won't.
Right.
Right. Okay. So after you get your new name, you take your little temple packet that you have, and when you go through for yourself again, you're wearing this little pink card on your shirt so that everybody knows that you're a newbie, and you get to sit in the front row. So that's a perk. So they take you to the first room in the temple. So there are 3 main rooms in the temple. And I know with the smaller, I know it's different with the larger temple designs and the Salt Lake Temple. Have you ever been there, Kirsten, to the Salt Lake
Multiple
Temple?
times. Yeah. When
Okay.
I was at
Yeah.
BYU, we would go up there like as a group, like FHE group, and we'd go and do it. So
Yeah.
I've done several sessions in there. Yeah.
I
Anyways.
did too. The last time that I was there, actually, I was there with my daughter, and David Archuleta was there too at the same time, going through a
Aw.
session at the same
And
time.
now look, you both have left. My mom was in a session with Gladys Knight.
Oh, how sweet.
So yeah,
That
good
always
times.
makes me shake my head because Gladys Knight joined the church, even though it's super racist. But there we go. I don't think she's still a
Yeah.
member, though. Maybe she is. I don't know.
As far as I
Who
know,
knows?
she is, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like I go. She lives here locally in Las Vegas, but I'm not going to go and knock on her door and ask her. That's weird.
Right.
Mormons wouldn't think it's weird. They're like, hey,
Mormons would
let's
not
go and
think it's
talk to
weird.
Gladys.
Hey,
See how
I've
she's
been
doing.
thinking about you, and I just this is just I felt inspired to come and visit you and see how you're doing.
I
That's
guarantee
totally
you.
normal.
Well, they probably have security and stuff. And I was like, there are little 18-year-old missionaries out here that are like, let's go see what celebrities we can track down,
Right.
I'm right.
Oh, I'm
They're going to
sure.
try. They're going to
100%.
shoot their shot,
Yep.
even though there's probably
100%.
gates and signs. And like, I don't know if there's rules about that. People, if you ever served in Las Vegas, please let us know. I'm curious.
Yeah, let us
But
know.
then the sheer amount of celebrities, I guarantee you, they're like, I bet we could find out,
We could totally find a
Anyways.
celebrity. What if we baptized Jeff Goldblum? That'd be so cool.
Jeff is better than that. He would never.
You never know. He might decide to become spiritual.
Oh my God. Do you remember that show that he had on Disney Plus that was like Jeff Goldblum learns about the world or whatever? Did you watch that show?
I never did.
Highly recommend
was
it. He just
hilarious.
goes and it was. And he went to a cricket farm to learn about why crickets are high in protein and all these things.
Okay.
I would love to see a Jeff Goldblum episode on the Mormon religion. Can you imagine?
He'd be like, that is one big pile of shit.
He's like, I met Dallin, and he just da da da, and I just,
He just
interesting man.
seemed like he was not a prophet. I don't know. Just maybe it's me.
I don't know.
People are going to come at us in the chat for having terrible Jeff Goldblum impersonations.
I don't even care.
I don't either. But I love that we've brought him into this world with us as a buffer to our trauma.
I got Wicked on the brain right now. I'm so excited to see it. I love it. I actually would love to talk about that sometime. I mean,
yes, because the Mormon parallels are insane.
I literally have a tattoo of Elphaba that says, look at her, she's wicked. And it just has Elphaba sitting like this. Because, I mean, a little spoiler, if you are ex-Mormon, go listen to Defying Gravity through the lens of being the only person in your family that left. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. I just got goosebumps when you said that, honestly. It's pretty cool.
I cannot listen to that song without bawling my eyes out. I'm not kidding. Every single time it's just like.
And now we know at least one of the songs that are going to be in our live show.
I don't think I could get through it. I would bawl. I'm serious. I'll have
Well, you're
to
going
play
to be
the
playing the
piano.
piano.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll have to, because as you're singing, I'm gonna be like, I'll have to memorize it. There's no way I'll be able to read sheet music through those tears.
Your fingers are going to slip on the keys. They'll be all watery.
Like, I'm going like this. Anyways, back to the temple without Jeff in there.
Can you tell if there are any psychotherapists out there? They're like, oh my God, these girls are avoidant. It's just ridiculous.
I have never claimed to not be. I literally have told Megan, I know I have avoidant behavior. And, you know, as we're going into this, and I'm sure we're far into this episode and people are like, just get to it. I was the one that told Megan I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to touch this. And she was like, we're going to take it really slow. We'll see how far we go. And I was like, can we do something funny? I was like, why don't we just do a funny episode instead? And she was like, let's just do it. We're on this.
Meanwhile, I'm like, Band-Aid right off. Just
yeah.
Rip it off.
So, which is funny because I've been out of the church longer than Megan, but it's like, it's still something that the endowment ceremony specifically, I have a very hard time with it. There were a lot of things going in my life around that same time that I was having a lot of trauma with, you know, trying really, really, really hard to do what was right and getting pushback in my own brain that I knew in my heart it wasn't right, that I shouldn't have made these choices. And I was trying so hard to get family approval, church approval, God's approval, you know, whatever you want to put it in. And it was like every time I went to the temple, it was because I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I should be doing. And I left feeling worse than I did before every single time without question. And then when people would ask me about how it was, I would lie and be like, it was so good. I'm so glad I went. I remember writing journal entries about how great it was and then looking at the journal and be like, I'm lying to myself even in my journal. And I wouldn't correct it, you know? Yeah. And so me specifically, the endowment ceremony, probably of all of the things I went through in Mormonism, the endowment ceremony is probably where I hold the most hurt and trauma. I'll be honest. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, definitely.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you cannot trust the diaries of the women who were married to Joseph Smith when they say that everything was beautiful and wonderful and they loved it and they had zero complaints about being the 27th wife of a man 30 years older than them.
100% agree. I have a hard time believing there are not women specifically. I'm sure men too. I don't want to negate their experience. I just don't have an experience as a man. Okay. I believe women specifically try to make their journals more positive than they should be because we are taught in the church that a good reason for journaling is for your posterity to read and have your testimony and understand your experience and have it be a faith promoting thing.
Right.
So I know for myself, and again, I do believe this for other women. I would love to hear your experience, Megan, that when I would journal with the expectation that my children and my grandchildren would read what I was saying. And so I strongly felt that I could not share my actual feelings because I didn't want to ruin someone else's testimony or make it seem like I was unfaithful.
100%. 100%. That was definitely a family legacy thing. That was, I remember, you know, my grandmother sharing parts of my great grandmother's journal with us as, you know, as a faith promoting thing. We would get, you know, it would be like a Christmas present that we would get, you know, a card in the mail for Christmas that would have a photocopy of one of the pages of my great grandmother's diary that she would, her journal. Can't call it a diary because it literally was, the purpose of it was to have a record for your posterity. And so it was a very, very Mormon thing. And that's why I keep threatening to read through some of my Mormon journals, because I know that it is the brainwashed version of me. I know that I was not being honest about my feelings, and I was not good at keeping a journal for that reason, because when things were really,
Yeah.
really difficult and painful, I would not journal. And it's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why journaling became part of my healing, is because I made the decision that I was finally going to be honest about my feelings instead of
Yeah.
pretending that everything was good all the time. And so
Yeah.
journaling became my outlet and my way to get all of those real feelings out of my head and onto paper.
Yeah.
Because journaling previously was another form of me gaslighting myself,
Yes.
you know?
So you get the
So
new name, you walk in, you have the separate rooms. That's what we were talking
right,
about,
we
the
talked
different
about the
rooms.
3 rooms. So the 3 rooms correspond to the 3 levels of Mormon heaven, which
Right.
if you have not, maybe we should just stop this right now and do a whole plan of salvation episode. Just kidding, because that's avoidant. But there are 3 levels of Mormon heaven. There
Yep.
is the telestial,
Celestial.
and then the terrestrial, and then the celestial. And within the
Yeah.
celestial kingdom, there are 3 levels as well. Did you know that, Kirsten? I bet you did.
I did, because I was guaranteed the highest before
That's
I
right.
left.
Yeah, and now you're gonna be in hell. Outer darkness for you.
It's outer snarkness, my dear.
It is now. I can't wait for the t-shirt.
But hey guys, just meme this. Bleh.
Elaine.
Exactly.
So yeah, so the first room that you go into is supposed to represent the earth. And then the second room you go into is supposed to represent, I don't know, a purer version of the earth, which is basically what the terrestrial kingdom is. And then
Yeah.
the third room is supposed to represent the celestial kingdom. And in the smaller temples, those 3 rooms are the center of the temple. And then the ceiling rooms and the dressing rooms are on the outside, and the baptistry is, at the end, sort of.
Right.
And
Yeah.
in the smaller temples also, they literally progressively step up as you get into the higher levels of heaven. So one of the things I do appreciate about the temple, although it pisses me off the amount of money that they spend doing these things,
Yeah.
there is a really beautiful mural in the San Antonio temple. And so,
Yes.
you there are cushy chairs that you sit in, which they're the kind that
Mhm.
fold down like stadium seats, which I don't understand why they did it that way, because, well, I guess they do it that way so that there's enough room for people to get in between. But like
Yeah.
there is so much standing up and sitting down. You just, it's like the chair's constantly making noise, which is like the temple is supposed to be silent, and then you have all this chair noise. Anyway,
Yes. Hitting
so
your
there's
butt too, that like flop up, sometimes it like
Mhm,
hits your butt and you're like
yeah. So in the San Antonio temple, which is the one I went to the most often, of course, because I live here, they have beautiful wood paneling all along the bottom part, and then the whole rest of the wall is this beautiful hand painted mural, and it looks like you're sitting in the middle of the Guadalupe River. It's really beautiful. There are
it's
like cypress trees
gorgeous.
everywhere. There's beautiful limestone, rocks everywhere. It's really, really beautiful.
I
So it's
have to say, I've been to a lot of temples, not a ton, but I've been to a lot. And when I went to the open house for the San Antonio temple and saw it for the first time, I remember just literally being like, and thinking it was
yeah.
so special, because growing up in Texas and knowing the Guadalupe River, I just
Mhm.
thought it was so beautiful and so special, because a lot of temples, if they have depictions, of wooded areas or whatever, which a lot of them are not hand painted on there. It's not like
Right.
that. It's not a place necessarily I could recognize. It just was, beautiful greenery and stuff. But the San
Right.
Antonio one, it's very obvious where it is. It's yeah, it's lovely. I really did love that.
Yeah, and the stained glass in the San Antonio temple is really beautiful, and most temples
Yeah.
do not have stained glass in them, and so
No.
that's one of the things I really appreciated about it. So, if there's a
Yeah.
temple open house near you, and, they've announced a crap ton of temples, You should totally go because it is really beautiful, but it will also probably infuriate you the amount of money that they spend on it.
Megan, did you know that they recently began building the second Las Vegas temple? Broke ground on it.
I did know
All of
that.
that. So
But
whenever they have that open house,
oh, we're
I
going.
will be there.
I will be there too. And I will be wearing some sort of recording device.
100%. Well, Megan will be doing that. I don't know her. I have nothing to do with that. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
just kidding. I would never do something like that. That's just against the
Right?
rules. I'm a
course.
rule follower, as you know. Anyway.
Same.
Um,
Anyway,
so yeah, so it is a beautiful setting, and in the
yeah.
front of the room there is an altar. What does a temple altar look like? Well, we'll show you because why not?
And just so you guys know, the reason they have the open house or whatever, so people can look at it and answer questions or whatever, but they're allowed to do that because it's before it's been blessed and made
Right.
into a temple. So basically, it's just a building. And then
Right.
once it's blessed by the priesthood, it's a temple. And then no one can be in there or see what they do.
Exactly. That and because they're like, see, we're not keeping any secrets in here. We're totally transparent with everything. So this is the telestial room in the Salt Lake Temple. So you can see
Yeah.
the altar right here at the front of the room. And here they have wooden chairs, but they do have cushions on the bottom. But you can see like it's depicting like a lovely Garden of Eden type scene. And that's
Right.
you're gonna understand that in a second. But there are lions fighting with each other over here.
Just as one does in Utah Valley.
Exactly. Oh goodness. We have so
Are
much fun.
they fighting, Megan? It's the Garden of Eden. Maybe they're getting ready to
Copulate?
multiply and replenish the earth.
Right. I want to see if there's a picture of the San Antonio one because it is really beautiful.
It really is.
Oh, it is. There is one.
Show it.
No, I refuse.
I'm like, show it.
Oh, they have a whole bunch of
show it.
pictures of the San Antonio temple. So if you go to
it
Church
up.
of Jesus Christ Temples.org, you can see pictures of the interior of each of the temples as they were taken before the building was dedicated. So there's that beautiful mural that
Aw.
we were talking about. And they've got some blue bonnets over here.
Yeah.
And you can see it's a very small room. So when I went through
It's
for the
very small. I remember
Yeah.
being like, oh, because I had
So
only
there's-
been to larger temples before that.
Yeah. So there's the river on this side, and then there's also another river mural on the other side. And that's why I say
Yeah.
it looks like you're sitting in the middle of the river. But yeah, so isn't that pretty? So that's the telestial room, and that's where this whole show starts, is in the telestial room. And when I say show, I'm being kind of literal because there is a
It's
movie.
a show.
It's a literal movie. Now they used to have live action people acting this out in the temple. Temple workers would play the different characters, which you can imagine that they probably were terrible at it a lot of the time. And so we have several characters that we're going to see in this movie. Of course, first, we're going to hear the voices of Adam, Jehovah. Well, it's actually Elohim, God, Jehovah, Jesus, and Michael, who's really Adam. So his new name is Michael, I guess.
I probably.
I never
don't know.
really
That
I
makes
never
sense.
really thought of it that way, but they revealed his new name to us.
Oh,
Oh.
well, I guess we're all screwed then. Now we know, and he can never
Yeah.
get to heaven.
So also I want to go back to the picture because I want to point out that men sit on one side and women sit on the other side. The only
Yep.
time that men and women are allowed to mingle in the temple is in the sealing room when you're kneeling across the altar from your beloved to be sealed for time and all eternity. And in the celestial room, you're allowed to whisper with
Walk
each other,
around.
whisper with each other, whispers only.
Yeah.
So yeah, Do we have a transcript? Because I forget how it starts. I'm really glad that I'm forgetting how it starts. So what would have happened is, when you go through for the first time, you get to sit on the front row next to whoever is escorting you. For me, it was my mom and my sister. And then the men sit on the other side. So my dad and my brother would have been on the other side in the front row also, because they had someone going through for the first time. I don't think I was the only one going through for the first time in the Houston temple that day. I think there was somebody else there as well. And you have to like call in advance and make an appointment so that they know that a newbie is coming through and all of that.
Yeah.
So we would all sit there in silence. And then once everybody fills up all the seats, then a man wearing a white suit comes to the front of the room, stands near the altar, and pushes a button, and a recording plays.
It's like going to the planetarium. It's
It kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep in the planetarium before too.
Me too.
It's dark. There's
I'm
deep
sorry.
voices.
There's stars, it's a thing.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so we're going to actually read through some of this transcript. I don't know how far we will get, but I have the transcript of the 1984 temple ceremony, and it has strike-throughs where passages were deleted and then bold to indicate added text that came in after 1984 or whatever. And I've never heard or read the whole original transcript. So some of this will be new for me too, but the reason I wanted to do this transcript is because this one contains the blood oaths. So,
Yep.
All right.
They took the blood oaths out in 1990, if I remember correctly. And then they recently changed it again. Is that correct?
Yes, they did. They changed it again because they took out the part where women covenant to hearken unto their husband. Instead,
Right.
they covenant directly with God. Because for me, when we each went through, they would say, we covenant to hearken unto our husband as he hearkens unto the Lord.
Unto God. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, women didn't have direct access to any of that with God and the priesthood. Always you had to go through your husband who would hearken to God.
Right.
Yeah.
Which for me, I even remember thinking this the first time that I went through. I was like, well, my husband doesn't hearken to God, so there's my loophole.
The first time I went through, I didn't think that because I was about to get married.
Right.
But
not the first time.
6 months into it, for sure, I was like, well, he does not hearken to God. So
yeah. Honestly, I'm sure it wasn't
that?
the first time that I thought that, because the first time I was so traumatized by the initiatory already, and I was so weirded out by everything that was happening that I was like, I'm sure that my brain was on overload. And also, we've mentioned this before, but the first time you go through the temple is supposed to be very special. And so I was fasting that day. I hadn't had anything to eat or drink since the night before. And it was late afternoon when I went through the temple. And I was looking forward to the dinner that we were going to have afterwards, like as a celebration of me going through the temple.
Yeah.
And so I was, hadn't slept well the night before. I was in a sleep deprived and hunger state when I went through this. And I was very emotionally overwhelmed by the end of it, which we'll get to if we get to it today. And if we don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
So the guy in the white suit presses a button, and this is what you hear. Brethren and sisters, we welcome you to the temple and hope you will find joy in serving in the house of the Lord this day. Those of you who are here to receive your own endowments should have been washed, anointed, and clothed in the garment of the holy priesthood. For those who are representing deceased persons, the ordinances of washing, anointing, and clothing in the garment of the holy priesthood, together with the ordaining in behalf of the deceased brethren, were performed previously. Each of you should have received a new name in connection with this company. If any of you who have forgotten the new name or have not received those ordinances as explained, please stand. And then you have this long pause where they give people the opportunity to embarrass themselves in front of the whole room by admitting that they've forgotten the new name. And then we all have to sit there and wait while this person who was told the new name like literally 3 minutes ago has to go back into the dressing room, receive the new name again, and then come back in and
Come
sit
back.
down. And I remember asking my mom if she had ever forgotten the new name, that like not hers, but for the person she was going through for. And she admitted to me that she had at one point, and she felt really embarrassed about it. But she said it does happen all the time. And she eventually became a temple worker. And, you know, you're dealing with some elderly people. You're also dealing with some people, like when we would go visit my mom's family, she and her
Yeah.
sisters would make an entire day out of going to the temple, and they would do 2 or 3 sessions. Can you imagine sitting through
Ugh.
3 of these in a row? No, thank you.
No, one is more than enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm
thank
actually
you.
kind of excited to do this because I know we're going to get a ton of questions in the comments and in the chat as well. So I'm excited for the questions because I'm always excited to hear what Nevermos think when they hear this stuff.
Yes, me too. I'm telling you, we need to do a special Friday Q&A with John live.
Oh my
Have him
gosh,
sit
yes.
here after watching, because John does watch all of our episodes. Shout out to you. Thanks for supporting, babe. Love you. And I
Right.
just want to hear what his questions are live after, because he does ask me some things. Most of the times he just shakes his head. I've asked him, I asked him recently, I go, so you watched, this episode. Do you have any questions for me? And he goes, my only question is why you and Megan didn't leave sooner. He goes, how did you
100%.
go through this and be like, yeah, that's fine. He goes, both of you are beautiful, intelligent women, and you were buying into this 100%. I'm like, we ask ourselves that all the time.
It's indoctrination. It just is the power of indoctrination. It's the power of groupthink. It's the power of having your your afterlife with your family held over your head. That's what it is.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway, moving on. So after, the shamed person comes back into the room, the guy will start the recording again. And it says, please be alert, attentive, and refrain from whispering during the presentation of the endowment. As you are asked to proceed to the veil, please do so in an orderly manner, row by row, as directed. After passing through the veil into the celestial room and in other areas in the temple, if you need to communicate, please whisper, thus helping us maintain the quiet reverence that should prevail in the house of the Lord. We will now proceed with the presentation of the endowment. Then you hear a different voice. Brethren, you have been washed and pronounced clean, or that through your faithfulness you may become clean from the blood and sins of this generation.
I'm
You
so
have been
sorry.
anointed.
Megan, you missed your calling as narrator of the temple.
As I'm reading these
you
words,
guys,
I literally hear the voice in my head.
Me too. That's why I'm laughing. Megan is like nailing the inflection. Like, it just is cracking me up because you go so many times, it's always the same recording. At least it was when I went. And so it is cracking me up because Megan is reading it exactly how they say it.
That's why I said that one time when I was in the car with my parents and the temple was closed. I was like, I could just do all the voices for you right now. And they were like, my dad was like, don't do that.
Although when we get to the Satan part, I want to read for Satan because I did impressions of him often. I feel
okay,
like
well, I'm gonna have to do some too.
Yes, we can split it up. I also love to do Eve because she's so doe-eyed. The brunette Eve was my favorite. She was very, in her part, because there were 2 different versions. There was a blonde Eve and a brunette Eve. There were 2 separate videos. So
yeah. And we'll have to show some pictures of the original Adam and Eve because I want people to like have the full visual experience.
Yes. And you'll have to tell your singing for Satan story again because I will never let you live that down.
Yep.
Acting like you more righteous than Satan. Wow.
I was more righteous than Satan. Oh, goodness. You have been anointed to become hereafter kings and priests unto the Most High God, to rule and reign in the house of Israel forever. Sisters, you have been washed and anointed to become hereafter queens and priestesses to your husbands. Not to God. The boys get to be kings and priests unto God, and we get to be queens and priestess to our husband. I always thought I would make a good priestess or a good prophetess. Anyway.
I never thought that of myself. I thought I would make a good comedian. So
Yeah.
No.
I think we both would. Anyway, moving on. Brethren and sisters, if you are true and faithful, the day will come when you will be chosen, called up, and anointed kings and queens, priests and priestesses, whereas now you are anointed only to become such. The realization of these blessings depends upon your faithfulness. You have had a garment placed upon you, which you were informed represents the garment given to Adam and Eve when they were found naked in the Garden of Eden, and which is called the garment of the holy priesthood. This you were instructed to wear throughout your life. You were informed that it will be a shield and a protection to you, inasmuch as you do not defile it, and if you are true and faithful to your covenants. You have had a new name given unto you, which you were told never to divulge nor forget. This new name is a key word, which you will be required to give at a certain place in the temple today. Your endowment is to prepare you. That part is crossed out, but it has to still be there. Your endowment is to prepare you to receive all those ordinances in the house of the Lord, which are necessary for you to enable you to walk back to the presence of the Father, passing the angels who stand as sentinels, being able to give them the key words, the signs and tokens pertaining to the holy priesthood, and gain your eternal exaltation. So at this point, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I'm absorbing what they're saying. I'm gonna learn some keywords. My new name is a keyword. I have to tell somebody this. I'm gonna receive all these ordinances. So I was expecting there to be some like laying on of hands or something that I was used to as far as receiving ordinances. No, none of that. And the reason why is because the endowment ceremony that we're reading right here is based on the ceremonies done in the Masonic temple when people become Freemasons. And we know that Joseph Smith, as he was inventing this religion, became a Freemason. And shortly thereafter, he introduced the endowment ceremony.
Ta-da! Isn't that convenient?
Watch me pull a rock out of my hat.
No. Not the rock out of the hat, the rock into the hat.
Oh, right. Watch me put a rock into my hat. And magically, scriptures will appear.
And other things, just revelation in general,
right. Just revelations in general, like, maybe I should marry some teenage girls and shit, like you do.
Yeah, I have to say that the only thing I can think of is, he had gone to other religious get-togethers, and he's just pulling ideas from everything. And even at that time, the Masons were a very elite group to be part of. Like, it was very much, you have to be chosen. Like, you can't just get in. They had the Knights Templar and Freemasonry stemmed from those things. I'm not even going to pretend I know all the history of it.
Right.
But the point is, even then, it was a very elite group. I mean, even if you look into the founding fathers, everyone's like, oh, they were all stonemasons. They weren't. There were a lot of them for just in proximity, but there were a lot that weren't,
Right.
And so being part of the Freemasons was a very big deal. So Joseph got into it and he realized, okay, what they're doing is making people feel elite and special, and there's all these secrets you don't know about. I could easily pull that into my religion. And I'm sure he saw how dedicated the Masons were to each other.
Yep.
And so getting all of those ideas and being like, I can make this group I'm in charge of and get people to be that dedicated to me. Perfect.
Yep.
And since there's not going to be any overlap, these Mormons are never going to know
They're
that
never going
this
to
is
know.
the same. Yeah, they're never going to know. And
How
the
are they going to
Masons
know?
aren't going to come over and be Mormons, or the majority of them wouldn't.
Right.
And if they did, they would recognize things and be like, okay, yeah, this is something.
And we're going to make
Yeah.
them promise to never reveal it. And
To
so
anybody.
even if there
Yeah.
is overlap, the Masons would be like, all right, I get it. You know, you adopted this thing into your thing, and all right, I'm never going to reveal it because I'm never going to, because I promised not to.
Yeah,
know?
it's sanctified. And also in Freemasons at that time, maybe there were women, I'm not 100% sure, but from my understanding, which is limited, there weren't women in
Right.
Freemasonry at that point. And if there was, again, it would be maybe few and far between for very liberal
I very
sects or
much doubt
something,
it.
you know?
Yeah.
Right. So, the women aren't going to see the comparison. They're going to easily follow their husbands into this. So
Right.
it's, for me, it's easy to see how Joseph just took that and made a parallel. Nobody's going to know or make the comparison or talk about it because both societies are so secretive on these rituals, you know?
Right. And I
So,
feel like this was also a way for him to find out who were the most loyal people and who were going to be loyal to him. You know,
yeah,
because if you have this super secret ceremony and you do reveal it, well, you're obviously not loyal and you're just going to get excommunicated. So there's a lot of really manipulative
yeah,
language in this, and it is spiritual abuse, in my opinion,
yeah,
because it is literally hanging your salvation over your head if you don't do this exactly the way that we tell you to. And
yep,
there's a lot at stake. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. All right, let's crack on, shall we? Um, let's see, new name, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. So I pretty much at this point was expecting to get some of the ordinances like that were familiar to me, and it was nothing like that. So now
Yes.
here's the part. Up until this point, none of us had been given an opportunity to like know what we're about to do. We know we're going to make promises to God of some kind, but we don't know what they are. So we're totally
Yep.
unprepared. And there's been no out, but here's the out. If you proceed and receive your full endowment, you will be required to take upon yourselves sacred obligations, the violation of which will bring upon you the judgment of God. For God will not be mocked. If
Can I
any of
just
you-
say
Yes.
really quick? My my father had used that phrase many times in my house if we were doing anything to make fun of the scriptures or be snarky or anything. He would straight up say, God will not be mocked. And it was like a very prominent phrase that in my family, right? So when it was said in the temple ceremony, I was like, because I did not know that was part of the temple ceremony. And I didn't know, like, my dad had been using that as a power dynamic. And I didn't recognize it as a power dynamic at that point.
Yeah.
But now that I'm out of the church, I'm like, I almost feel like that was a control tactic over my mom too, because she had been through the temple. And so it was like, using
It was
words
a way
from
of
the
setting
temple
her straight.
ceremony. Yes. And being like,
Yeah.
you need to control it yourself. You need to control your children, kind of thing.
So I remember feeling genuine fear when I heard those words. I really remember feeling like I know what God has done to other people who have mocked him in the past.
Yeah.
He drowns them, he burns them. You're going to get dead. That's basically what's going to happen to you. And I remember feeling genuine fear every single time that I heard that phrase.
I remember wanting to laugh. I'm not even going to lie. Whenever it said that, I was like, I do. Like,
Can you imagine
Megan,
sitting
the
in a temple
more
ceremony?
I don't need to imagine because it happened. It happened.
Somebody laughed out
Megan,
loud?
No,
Oh, okay.
somebody being me.
But if you had laughed out loud, can you imagine the looks on the faces of the temple workers?
Megan, okay, hear this with your own ears and see with your own eyes, because when they said that the first time, when I was sitting there and said, "For God will not be mocked," I went like this. And I saw the looks on the temple workers' faces. Okay. So you're like, can you imagine? No, I don't need to imagine because that's what happened.
I love
And
it.
my
I wish
mom,
I had been
my,
there.
and thankfully I did not laugh. My full laugh, as we all know, is rather boisterous. I
I love
literally
it.
went like this. I remember that because I was like, oh shit, because I remembered my dad saying it. But
Yeah.
then also I was like, wow, okay, they're gonna go there. And my mom looked at me and she went, I just remember that so because my mom laughs very loud. People compare me and my mom's laughs a lot. And my mom literally went like this. She went to me
I love
because
your mom.
we had that shared moment of like, yep, that's where dad gets it, you know.
Wow.
And I remember the temple worker, because they're really paying attention to me because I'm new. And she
Yeah.
went like this. And I was like, yes, because I was like, oh,
You know what I need to do is I need to get a string of pearls and keep them here in my desk so that I can clutch them every time. Um, but that's the other thing that I forgot to
yeah.
mention is that not only is there a dude in a white suit standing at the front of the room manning the recording controls, but there's also a man at the door to the men's dressing room and there's a woman at the door to the women's dressing room, and they are watching you during this temple ceremony the entire time to make sure that you're doing things correctly. That's the guys. But I feel like also if someone did burst out laughing or something, they would be escorted out. I guarantee you 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like you can't leave the room without having to come face to face with a temple worker who's going to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Go sit back
To
down. Like,
me,
what's wrong with you?
those temple workers did not seem friendly. I mean, I'm sure they were. They're sweet brothers and sisters of the church, whatever,
Right.
that are volunteering their time to be there. But they look like grumpy old people staring you down. That's what
Yeah.
it really is,
There
you know?
so I feel like just like everywhere else, there's a spectrum of Mormons. And,
Yes.
even the sweet ones who appear sweet, like the temple is such a sacred thing to them that anything like this, they would be angry about. And they are
Oh,
angry
yeah.
about. They're angry that the temple ceremony is available on YouTube. You can watch it. They're angry that people talk about the secrets of the temple. That's the
That's
vibe.
the embodiment. Yes, that's the vibe in the temple is like, do it wrong, see what happens. See what
Yes,
happens,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know?
You're gonna get corrected. If you do something wrong, you will get corrected. And I got corrected a couple of times on, different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they are very militant about making sure everything is done exactly right because it's so important to them, which I
Yeah.
have a story later that involves Boyd K. Packer that I will just it sort of shook my faith a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but we'll get to that later if we get to it.
We'll get to it
Here's
later, just might not be today.
Yeah. So here's your one and only out. After they tell you God will not be mocked, they say, if any of you desire to withdraw rather than accept these obligations of your own free will and choice, you may now make it known by raising your hand.
Yeah, and then there is a
And
long
all the
pause.
time, and there's a very long pause while everybody sits there and considers, do I
Should I leave?
really want to go through with this? I kind of feel like I should leave. I just want to know, Kirsten, in all the time that you attended the temple, did you ever see anybody raise their hand?
No. But I did
I did.
see
I
on
did one time.
No, did you? I was gonna
Mhm.
say I saw on TikTok a guy said he was gonna go on his mission and he raised his hand and he walked out. And of course, then his family walked out and it was a whole thing.
Yep.
But he decided to leave the church because he started feeling very uncomfortable. He's like, I'm not doing this. Good for
Yeah.
him. But I
Good
I
for
was never
him.
in a session, but you were? I would
Yes.
what happened?
Well, keep in mind for all the Nevermos, like your entire life has built up to this moment. Like your family is so excited and happy that you are finally taking this step to fully commit yourself to the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be with us in the eternities. They're relieved. And for parents, you know, I know this was true for me when I went through with my daughter for the first time. I was like, whew, one kid is taken care of. She's going to be fine now. Like, she's done everything right. No matter what happens now, she's going to have the endowment, you know, to lean back on. Like, she's made that final commitment. It's like crossing the finish line for a parent in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Which I hate that for me and for her, but that's a rabbit hole for another time. We actually did talk about it, and she was on my podcast and we talked about it. But anyway, so it's a huge amount of familial pressure. It's a huge amount of social pressure, because if you raise your hand, you're basically telling all of the Mormons, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not going to be part of your little club. I'm just not going to do it. So this young man was getting ready to go on his mission. And he was there like a young kid. I think he was 18. And he was there with his parents. So his mom was sitting on the front row. His dad was sitting next to him. And I think at this point, are we standing or sitting?
We're
I
sitting.
think we're sitting, right? Okay.
Yeah. We don't start standing until after that. You get to leave.
Right.
Yes or no.
So he,
and then,
yes, yeah. So he raises his hand, and the temple worker goes over to him and gestures towards the door, and the kid walks through the door with the temple worker. And I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor because I've never seen this happen in my entire life. What's going to happen? His dad then gets up and walks out the door after him. And his poor mother, who I will never forget, just bowed her head and started sobbing. And she stayed throughout the entire endowment.
Wow.
She stayed.
Guys,
Now,
I can't emphasize enough. The sessions are long, like
an hour and a half.
Saying, an hour and a half, plus like the beginning and, you know, walking through the celestial room and everything. So a good close to 2 hours. And she just sat there not knowing. Oh my God. How? She probably thought staying in there would like give her some spiritual comfort or something.
Exactly. And that she could go into the celestial room and pray for her son. And I bet she probably also thought, like, his dad went with him. That's what needs to happen. His dad will talk him through it. And probably what's going to happen is we'll come back another day and try again. You know, I'm sure she was probably telling herself that. But I can only imagine what was happening in the men's dressing room at that point. I'm sure that it was a lot of people just trying to convince him to go through with it. Like, there's another session in an hour and a half. We can just sit here and pray together. I'll give you a blessing. Everything will be fine. You'll go through. Like, I don't know what ended up happening to that kid. And maybe it was the kid who was on TikTok. I don't know.
Maybe.
But can you imagine the amount of courage that it takes to publicly walk away from your religious right, your religious upbringing, probably generations of Mormonism? Like, the amount of courage that takes, like, I just cannot fathom. And I mean, you and I did walk away from that too, but we didn't do it like
not publicly,
in front of everybody, in front of our parents, you know what I mean? Like,
it took me almost 3 years to tell my family that I had officially left the church. Like, I can't even imagine doing it, especially again in the temple ceremony or in that environment. Like, no way in hell would I walk out of a session, like, unless I had diarrhea or something. Like,
I actually did leave a session one time. I was very pregnant and I started to feel faint and I had to be escorted out. So, and I felt bad because I was like, now somebody has to start the work for this lady all over again. And I felt like I was wasting, you know, precious, valuable resources or whatever.
Instead of taking care of your unborn child in your body.
Exactly.
Yes, Megan.
Exactly. And I was probably, I don't know, it was probably like 7 or 8 months pregnant. What the hell? Anyways, I just, you know, it's like once you get to the temple, you're going to go through it. Like, nobody doesn't go through with it. Everybody goes through with it. How dare you not go through it? And I think when I saw that kid, one of the reasons that it affected me so much is because I did want to leave. At several points, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really? And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason I stayed is because my mom and sister were right there. And I was
I
like,
agree.
they've done it. I'm just going to have to like go through with it, and I will unpack all this later. Like, I can't think about it right now. I'm just going to do it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Same.
Ugh. Yeah. And then once
Yeah.
I went through it, I had made all the promises, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm stuck now. So, or
Same. I was
either
like,
that, or yeah, either that, or I'm mocking God and he's going to strike me down. Do it.
yep.
Anyway,
I yeah, I remember feeling like I liked not knowing. Like I felt very much like, can't we just go back to not doing all of this? Like I really wanted to be like, okay, I was happier not having all of this. You know,
yeah,
like the temple was what really bothered me. So I was like, can I just go back to going to Sunday school regular and just believing the
yeah,
Book of Mormon and all of that, not having all of this Adam and Eve and needing to handshake and new name. Like I just, yeah. Anyways,
yeah. I
so
wish now that I had known back then that there was a spectrum of belief and that there are some people who
me
don't
too.
literally believe in Mormonism. I wish that I had known that there were people who were just cultural Mormons and who just
Yeah.
lived their life the way they wanted to, but that this is their community. I wish I had known that, there are people who know that it's manufactured and they still go every Sunday because they want to sit next to their wife. I wish I would
Yeah.
have known that there were more nuanced people in the church. I think it would have made it a lot easier for me. I don't
Yeah.
know that I would have stayed longer necessarily, but I think that as a literal believer, I really did a lot of mental and emotional harm to myself because I was a
Yeah.
literal believer.
Yeah.
It would have
I
been
agree.
a lot less harmful for me if I hadn't done that. But anyway, moving
Yeah.
on, shall we? Shall we continue? How are you doing, Kirsten? How are you doing?
My hands are shaky, and if it makes you
Oh,
feel any better.
God. I'm sorry.
No, I'm okay. But I would like to point out to everyone, we have not yet started the ceremony.
That's right. We've not yet started the ceremony. We're about to, though. We're about to start the movie. Are you excited? Do you have your popcorn, Kirsten? Oh man, I
um,
wish I had a Coke Zero. I'd get my Coke Zero and some popcorn.
I'm like, yeah,
We haven't even gotten to the ceremony yet. And so we're going to go ahead and end this episode right here on a cliffhanger before we start the movie, because I know there will be people who probably don't want to hear the whole ceremony. There are probably, nuanced members in the audience, or, still in, or PMO, physically and mentally out, who may not want to see the temple ceremony discussed in public. And so here's your,
or people
here's
who
your out.
are out, or people who are out and not ready to go there yet, because we
Right,
have gotten that feedback from some people that they enjoy watching our episodes. They're just not ready to go there yet, or need to do it in bits.
right.
So we're going to go ahead and just end this here. Just like if you were in the temple and you're like, I want an out, this is your chance to get that out.
Yeah.
And then our next one will start with this ceremony and just do a read through. We'll try to keep our own emotions to a minimum. We'll do a read through.
When I first left the church, or when I first started processing my exit from Mormonism, it was long before
Yeah.
I ever looked at truth claims. So I did have a period of about 3 or 4 years where I still believed everything was true in Mormonism. I just believed that I didn't fit and that I was never going to be in the celestial kingdom. And I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I had made my peace with that. But during that period of time, I would not have been okay with going through the whole temple ceremony. I would not have been okay with it being out in public. I still kind of believed that stuff should be kept sacred for the people who want it to be sacred. And there is a part of me still that is like, okay, literal believing Mormons, if you want the temple ceremony to be sacred, don't go looking on YouTube for it, because it's out there. And it's people like us who are being snarky about something that you dearly believe. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like John DeLynn on Mormon Stories, hasn't outed the whole temple ceremony, bits and pieces
Yeah.
of it, sure, as the context of people's story, but he hasn't gone through like the full transcript like we're doing here. I think out of respect for the people who are still believing that it's something sacred, that they don't want it made fun of. And, I totally respect people who are in that space. And so for
Yeah.
those people, this episode is safe. Next episode is not going to be.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming. If you watched this far, if you are a Mormon and you want to comment that you don't like us, I'm fine with that too. We're sending you love either way.
Yeah.
Because we want all people to receive this, not just people who have a Mormon card.
We desire all to receive it. That's a little preview of things to come.
Yes.
All right, Kirsten. Well, as always, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for helping me unpack my Mormon trauma. There's nobody else I would rather do it with.
Same. Love you, girl.
Love you.